So let's get buzzing, Nisha.
Okay, so this story had us all arguing this morning in the studio. So Prime Minister Andrew Holness says that he believes that criminals convicted for illegal possession of a firearm should be put to their put to death. They should receive the death sentence. So Holness made the announcement during his address at the Jamaica Labour Party, that's JLP's 78th first virtual annual conference on Sunday. He said, and I quote, anyone found with a gun that is illegal should start with the death penalty. That's how strongly I feel about it, and that's how serious we should treat it.
He also added that there needs to be stiffer penalties for those who import weapons, those who provide the weapons to the killers, quote unquote, and who use them to intimidate people. He said, quote, they should start at the highest level, which is the death penalty. They shouldn't get automatic plea bargaining. Those who perpetrate this face the most severe consequences.
So according to the Prime Minister, the argument presented by some people who go on to receive relatively light sentences after successfully arguing that the gun is for their defense must be rejected. He said, we must have a movement to disarm Jamaica of illegal guns. He declared that. So Craig and I have, I think, opposing views, perhaps? Slightly?
Yeah, because, I mean, let me tell you, it's two things. At first, when you see the first statement saying that people found with illegal guns should be put to death, I personally understood where he was going. I understand that what he's saying is that it should be dealt with more seriously, and you should have more severe punishment. Basically, what I'm doing, I'm try to frighten them. And I get that. A lot of people respond quicker to fear. However, when he went on to say that the defense that is for self-defense should be shouldn't be accepted. That don't really make sense to me, because there are a lot of unnecessary hoops that you need to jump through to get your firearm license, and sometimes they allow people who really are not ready for firearm license, hence things like this. They allow people who really are not ready for firearm license to have them. And it's not about making the measures to get them more stringent. It's about actually having things in place to ensure that these people are trained properly. That is it.
And that is my problem with that statement. The fact that it's our Prime Minister that said that, for me, and you guys know that I don't have any political affiliations, for me, I think that is that's an unwise stance for him to take. I think there's some things that need to be put in place, like you said, before he can make that kind of stance. I also feel that when you're trying to say that we need to take this more seriously, that's 100% accurate.
Definitely.
But to say the death sentence, then you sound not as wise as one would hope for you to be. A lot of persons now know that to pursue a license for a firearm, you, like Craig said, you need to jump through certain hoops. But there's also certain provisos that allows it to not be quite fair in who gets it and who doesn't get it. Yeah. So let's look at the exactly. The political, what's the word? The corruption within the distribution of the license for the firearm. Now, let's talk about that. Let's have these kind of big people conversations before you say some kind of broad stroke like, everybody will put to death. That sounds so ignorant to me, and I just can't believe that that's our leader saying that. I'm just like, what did you just say?
I know enough responsible citizen and businessmen with families and homes to protect that apply for firearm license and are rejected for no real serious reason.
Like, why is that? Let's sort those out before we say, I'm not here for that. I've said what I said. Let me just leave it at that.
So, what else is happening? Okay, so Virgil Abloh, he's a leading designer, and his groundbreaking fusions of streetwear and high couture made him one of the most celebrated tastemakers in fashion and beyond. He has died of cancer, unfortunately. He was 41 years old. Abloh's death was announced on Sunday by the luxury group LVMH, which is the Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy group. and Abloh's own off-white label, which was founded in 2013. That's his thing.
So Abloh was the artistic director for Louis Vuitton's menswear, but ubiquitous consumer-friendly presence in culture was wide-ranging and dynamic. Now, some actually compared him to Jeff Koons. Others hailed him as our generation's Karl Lagerfeld.
Now, a statement from Abloh's family on the designer's Instagram account said, Abloh was, what did it say about Abloh?
Yeah, so apparently
It said Abloh was diagnosed 2 years ago with cardiac angiosarcoma. It's a rare form of cancer in which a tumor occurs in the heart. He chose to endure his battle privately since his diagnosis in 2019, undergoing numerous challenging treatments, all while helming several significant institutions that span fashion, art, and culture. This is what the statement read.
So in 2018, Abloh became the first black artistic director of menswear at Louis Vuitton in the French design house's storied history. Now, a first-generation Ghanaian American whose seamstress mother taught him to sew. Abloh had no formal fashion training, but had a degree in engineering and a master's in architecture.
Interesting. So Abloh, who grew up in Rockford, Illinois, outside of Chicago, was often referred to as a Renaissance man in the fashion world. He moonlighted as a DJ, but in a short time, he emerged as one of fashion's most heralded designers. Abloh called himself a maker. He was named one of Time magazine's most influential people in 2018.
I actually remember when he was hailed as the head of Louis Vuitton's menswear line. I remember feeling like black pride, black power. I was like, yeah, you know, because so many persons, particularly in our culture and music and entertainment, hail Louis Vuitton as like the must-have. And I'm like, they're usually so for white persons and purchased by white, you know?
I get you.
So when you have a black person, a black man in particular, that's there at the helm, I was proud.
Yeah,
so
and he did very well, and he represented streetwear as well. So it was a big deal, definitely. The funniest thing is, I only just recently started learning about Virgil, you know, to me following up Kanye West and everything, and like
he was prolific, man, and he loved working with Kanye, and But you know what I loved about him was that he was on the ground level with the people then, but also up there with the other. You know what I'm saying?
That's
he
the
was
real
just
thing, you know?
yeah.
That's the real thing, definitely.
So I was surprised. My heart broke a little when I read it because I just feel like you have these black men just like whoo, and then I'm like, oh come on.
Definitely
so
super. Definitely a superman. Definitely super influential in the world. Definitely a national gem
and a
for
family
Ghana.
man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Family man and all those things.
Maybe he should be a Ghanaian.
A Ghanaian.
National hero. Okay, so South African President Cyril Ramaphosa was called on countries to urgently reverse scientifically unjustified travel restrictions linked to the discovery of a new variant of the coronavirus. His comments on Sunday came as the highly mutated variant dubbed Omicron continued spreading around the world, with new cases identified in the Netherlands, Denmark, and Australia.
Dozens of countries have blacklisted South Africa and its neighbors since South African scientists this week flagged the new variant. Now, the WHO, or the World Health Organization, has designated Omicron a variant of concern that is potentially more contagious than previous variants.
Of course. So in the first address to the nation since the detection of Omicron, Ramaphosa said, we call upon all those countries that have imposed travel bans on our country and our Southern African sister countries to immediately and urgently reverse these decisions. The prohibition of travel is not informed by science.
He also goes on to say, the only thing the prohibition on travel will do is to further damage the economies of the affected countries and undermine their ability to respond to and to recover from the pandemic. He also says these restrictions are unjustified and unfairly discriminate against our country and our Southern African sister countries, which I 100% 1,000,000% agree to what he's saying. Because I want to go on to further clarify this. It was the South African doctors that went on to identify that there is a variant. And because the gentleman identified it, they were like, oh, it's over there. Stop everything over there. Let me also clarify to say this variant is in the UK. There's no bans there. It's in Australia. There's no bans there. It's in Singapore. There's no bans there. So why are you banning Africa? I don't understand. You understand what I'm saying? Like, stop with the ignorant. It angers me.
Yeah, them ban with
Craig.
quick. You know the funniest thing is I can imagine that the South African doctor or scientist right now. I say, you know, so I shouldn't tell him nothing. I shouldn't tell him, you know. I should allow them. I could find out for themselves.
And I also want to come on this platform to say something as well. 6% of the African continent is vaccinated. And they last few months they were like, yo, we're baffled. We don't understand how come only 6% of the continent is vaccinated, and yet the virus is not really spreading. Everybody's okay. What's happening? So to hear that 2 months later, it's like,
yeah.
South Africa. I'm like, I'm just saying, leave the people, leave them alone. On that note,
Daytime Live will be right back, and we have more buzz when we come back, so stay tuned. So far.